Hello, Mech Warriors. Are you considering building a missile boat on a light mech? I would consider doing it on a clan mech. Now, not to say that intersphere mechs don't have their place, it's just that the weapons typically weigh too much and there isn't a lot of tonnage available on light mechs. But you can do it effectively if you follow some basic strategies. One of the strategies is you have to understand the difference between intersphere missiles and clan missiles. Clan missiles have a better heat rating or ratio, depending on your point of view, than intersphere mechs do. Intersphere mechs, when they fire their missiles, they fire all their missiles simultaneously. Therefore, all of their missiles should hit the target pretty close to simultaneously. Clan mechs, they fire them starting with 2 missiles and then the remaining go out after that. And so there you'll see a constant stream of missiles going across the horizon with them depending on the number of missiles being fired. But you'll see them basically going out and then they hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. So that's how a clan mech works. So it's easy to see the difference between a clan missile system being fired and an intersphere missile system being fired on the battlefield. But you can do it effectively if you follow some basic strategies. If you see a constant stream coming out, kind of like a machine gun, you can count on that that's a clan mech. If you see just a burst of missiles coming out, that's an intersphere mech. It's easy to tell. So the intersphere mechs have the ability to fire all their weapons simultaneously. They also get a couple of other advantages. By firing the missiles simultaneously, all the missiles are hitting their target approximation at the same time as well. Also, they have better indirect fire. Now, the con is that they produce more heat and they weigh a lot more. So, as an example, we'll just go with the 20 size of the LRM long-range missile on the mechs. An LRM 20 standard, non-Artemis, on an intersphere mech weighs 10 tons. So that's going to be really hard to outfit on an intersphere mech, light mech. But on a clan, it weighs half as much. Now, granted, it's not firing the missiles quite the same way. So there's a way to look at this in terms. It's been my experience, driving multiple over the years, that a intersphere LRM 15 does approximately the same amount of damage as a clan LRM 20. Now, why would there be a discrepancy? The discrepancy is in the fact that your targets have better time or better chance to getting into cover or to twisting to spread the damage, or maybe have the damage get completely missed by moving around if the missiles are coming in a sporadic portion. If they're coming in as a burst, there is no getting out of the way because they're all hitting approximately the same time. So that's the one of the pros for the intersphere. The clan benefit is they weigh less and they produce less heat initially. They're probably producing about the same amount of heat overall, but it's being spread out because not all the missiles are firing at the same time, and the game takes that into consideration. So if you're going to fire the LRM 20s, you're only going to fire one of them at a time, we'll say. My experience running the videos in slow-mo, I found that 2 missiles fire and then the remaining fire in sequence after that. So in this case, if I have 2 LRM 20s on here, 4 missiles are going to fire at the same time, and then the remainder ones are going to come out 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So it's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and there we go. Or in this case, 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's how they work. Now, when you're considering building yourself a light mech that's going to be firing missiles in long-range form, or LRMs, it's also important to realize you're going to need to defend yourself. And in this case, I have 3 energy points here. Now, you can choose how you want to run these, and there's a couple of different ways you can run them. You can go with small lasers, medium lasers, or large lasers. It depends on how many missiles you want to fire because you have a amount of tonnage that's available that you can use. So that's something else important to consider. Camouflage, let's talk about that briefly. If you're driving a mech that's going to be firing missiles out of it, whether you have a stream of missiles coming out or a burst of missiles coming out, there's still going to be a smoke trail coming out of them as well, which is a telltale sign of where you're coming from. It's no mischievous thought to think, oh God, I have no idea where they're coming from, because you can pretty much tell by the firing arc and the smoke leaving the mech where they're coming from. It's almost like a laser being fired. If you've ever wondered where a beam laser mech is, all you have to do is follow the beam to exactly where they are. And the same thing goes with tag. So it gives you a pretty good idea where they're coming from. I've never seen an ER large laser firing on the battlefield and questioned to myself, God, I have no idea where that's coming from, because it's just an impossibility. So that being said, I chose to go with a pretty design on this mech because they already have a pretty good idea where I'm at anyways. By the way, has anyone ever noticed it looks like there's a smiley face in this paint pattern? Or on the head, like right there. Like there's one side of the smile, here's the other side. Anyway, that's a distraction. Squirrel. So let's take a look at this mech. So I've gone with, since I have the option of 3 energy points with the original Omnipod set up on this build. See, everything's all good. I've got all the clan capabilities for ammo capacity, missile range, missile spread, cooldown, heat, and of course an XP bonus, and then velocity and heat generation. We're not going to get into talking about the quirks. We're just going to get into talking about the benefits of using one of these mechs. When it comes to a missile boat on a light mech, my hands down choice is either a Cougar or an Adder. They both do it pretty equally well, I would think, in my opinion. And I've been driving these for a long time, so I have a pretty good opinion on that. So on this particular build, I've gone with 2 LRM 20s and 3 ER small lasers. I also have 4 tons of ammo, which is the bare minimum that you should consider if you're going to run a 20. And what I mean by that is you should have a bare minimum of 2 tons of ammo for an LRM 20. Anything less than that, you're not going to be firing for very long. Now granted, the match time is going to vary depending on the players and the play style that's going on in the match. So I figure with 2 LRM 20s, this is my bare minimum of ammo that I'm going to have. Now, a better choice if you're going to go with a less selective and maybe a different play style would be to go with 2 LRM 15s. And depending on the play style, like if I'm in a faction mode, playing faction, I will go with 2 LRM 15s with Artemis. Or 2 ATM 9s. It really depends. Because with ATMs, you're more selective because you don't have that indirect fire you could take advantage of. But I would go with 2 of these here, like this. And then I would probably up my weapons to 3 or 2 ER medium lasers, and then take whatever tonnage I have left over and throw it into ammo. And with this, 4 tons of ammo for 2 LRM 15s with Artemis is easy. That's easy peasy. That's plenty of ammo. More than plenty. You're not going to be firing them all the time. They're not like energy weapons. But that's why you might want to take advantage of putting a better energy weapon on board for defensive, and also being able to take advantage of that range. That's something to consider there. So, resetting the mech. Now, with the Omnipods on this style of mech, you can change out these components and go with different features or different weapons. If you wanted to, as an example, you could go over here and forego having the energy weapon. And just have the one energy weapon in the head, and then now you could add either SRMs, streaks, or more energy weapons. Or I mean more missile for long range. It's even been suggested that you could do an LRM build and an ATM build. I'm not a big fan of that because of the minimum range that ATMs have. I want a defensive weapon that's going to work for me at pretty good equal ranges. When you're thinking of a defensive weapon, you're not thinking about a defensive weapon that works at 1,000 meters. You're thinking of a defensive weapon that doesn't have a minimum range. So that's what you really want for a defensive energy weapon. So to summarize, I think the Cougar makes a really good choice, and the Adder also is an interesting choice as well because they're both built very similarly, and they both carry the ability to have different weapon systems added to them, whether it's a omnipods or the original pieces that come with the mech. There's a lot of different things you can do with these mech builds, and whether you're going to run with SRMs, streaks, um, ATMs, or LRMs, there's a lot of opportunity there as well. You can also scale down the missile system that's on there and go with the primary energy weapons and go with a variety of different style of builds as well. I lean towards the missile systems primarily because they're an easy system. There isn't a tremendous amount of skill that's involved, and it is an easy way to have really good matches easily and support your team as well. There are some things to consider. And this mech really does a good job at being able to defend itself, provide support on the battlefield, and also punish the enemy team with missiles, as you can see. I've been very pleased with these builds, and I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to check out my videos coming up on building a medium missile boat, a large missile boat, and I've actually broken up the assault missile boats as far as clan and intersphere because they both have very redeeming features, especially if you consider the different style of builds.